Welcome, Divine Hearts, and thank you so much for being here. This week we have a very luminous guest joining us. She is Lisa Barnett, and Lisa has been following her own light pathway for many years. Indeed, this pathway led her to the Akashic Records, which she now works within. She shares the light of the Akashic Fields throughout all of her work and her offerings, and she is amongst the brightest guides and teachers who shares and communicates the messages from the Akashic Fields. She is the founder of the Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom and has guided and assisted many thousands of individuals over the years. Her work is very much about bringing you into deeper connection with your own soul and your Akashic remembrance. And at her core, Lisa is all about assisting you to come back into your own power, your own sovereignty, empowering the divine within you. She has assisted many thousands of people to transform their lives, and she works with your soul's plan and is supported by the guidance of the Akashic Record Keepers. She is a best-selling author, and we will be including all of her information below this video so that you can gain access to all of Lisa's immense work. So welcome, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining us and being here and being such a generous heart with your time and your energy and your love.
Thank you, Lois. I'm just always so thrilled to get to share the Akashic wisdom with people all over the world. So I appreciate you inviting me to be on your show. Thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. Let's begin and ask you to take us on a little journey of how your journey unfolded to bring you to the Akashic Records.
So my journey in this life has already been long, and because I really woke up as a child, and I know that more and more children, small children, will be really becoming conscious and aware and awake at a very young age, because we come in as old souls with a very strong purpose. And so for me, I realized when I was very young that I was really trapped, to me, back in a body. And I thought, really? Why am I here? And no, what was I thinking? And again, I know a lot of my students have said that over the years, those kind of memories. And Lois, you may even have experienced that, or your children. Sometimes our children surprise us because they have that remembering. And it's not uncommon to kind of fall back asleep again, which I probably did. But I literally started studying spirituality when I was about 14 years old. And so, again, I started when I was young, because really my first very dear soul sister died of a brain tumor. And my reaction when I found out she was in a coma was that I should heal her. I'm supposed to heal her. And I thought, I'm 13. What the heck do I know? And so she passed, and I started studying because I really felt like, this is part of my purpose. Even though I knew nothing about it, I was not born to a bunch of healers. I was lucky to be living in California. And back in the day, it was the late, 60s. And so, there was some good esoteric information coming out into the world, and that was very helpful. And I went on and minored in philosophy, and I did a short stint in the corporate world, but realized that really wasn't for me. So luckily, I was a healer and an intuitive, and along the way, the Akashic Record Keepers started to communicate with me, and they started to give me lots of big kind of expansive information. And I think, wow, that's wild. Where is that coming from? And eventually I realized that I could take the Akashic kind of innately. It was a gift that I was really born with. And so over the years, in all these long conversations I've had with these beings of light that I refer to in general as the record keepers, they have guided me to start a school, to write my 3 books, to teach classes, and really everything I do on their guidance, because part of my soul contract is to help bring the Akashic wisdom back to humanity. And so kind of an interesting aside is that when they asked me to start a school, and I said, I'm busy here. I've got 3 toddlers, I think you have the wrong woman, And so I probably didn't say all of that, but I certainly thought it, and I'm sure they knew it. Anyway, I said, why me? I'm like, some mom in the suburbs. Like, are you sure that you're speaking to the right person? And so they enlightened me by telling me that I had been one of them. And so my kind of interesting Akashic journey began, because they explained that as a soul, each soul goes on a journey, and many of us go off into, galactic worlds, places, planes, dimensions. And a few of us, the studious types, go into the big library that we call the Akashic Records. And I spent hundreds, millions of years, who knows, no time and space, And so I spent much time in service to other souls, as being an Akashic Record Keeper myself. And then eventually I went on a journey and had all those billions of lives in other places, planes, and dimensions, and landed here on Earth and spent a lot of time here too. And so the record keeper said, you can hear us, you know who we are. We pulled the Akashic record away from humanity back in the Dark Ages. And that was, kind of a bit of phenomenal information for me, because they said, people haven't accessed the records almost since like 1000, but earlier. So the first people that started to bring the records back, Nostradamus, of course, being a mystic, could connect. Edgar Casey, also being a mystic, could connect through a hypnotic trance, but they really wanted it to be accessible to everyone. And so that was their request, is, will you start a school so that we can anchor the energy back on the planet, and assist people to access their Akashic records, because it's your birthright to have access into your own Akashic record.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Lisa, and expansive. Thank you so much. And there was 2 things there that just popped up. First, I wanted to ask you, just out of interest, how your records look to you when you get to see them.
Excuse me. Fascinating. That's an interesting question, because, of course, having taught, thousands of people around the world, the realization is we are so unique. And so the Akashic record looks very different to kind of everyone. So the way it looked to me in the beginning was like a big stone building, a big stone library. It had beautiful marble steps and big carved wooden doors that looked like it probably came out of, England, somewhere. And so it was, it had that beautiful look from whatever, the 1400s or, but over time, and to me, the thing that I would go into this library, and it was a big 2-story hall, and there was really thousands of books, and there was always a fireplace with an overstuffed kind of leather, wingback chair. And I think, wow, this is nice. I could hang out in here. And my Akashic record had a garden, which was very fun. You could go out into the garden and bathe in the river of forgiveness. As a matter of fact, I have a lovely little guided visualization that takes people on that journey into their Akashic records and into the Akashic garden. And I'd love to give it to you. It's a free meditation that people can listen to and enjoy and have that kind of energetic experience. But as time went on, what I realized was I would find myself more in the void, right? Really just a vast field of blackness until, and usually this is when I'm doing Akashic readings for clients, until the client asks a question. So it's like I open their records and I move into the void, which to me is part of the quantum field of the all. And so it's not scary dark. It's just this energetic space of everything. And then when they ask a question, then images usually will drop in. So answers to their questions will kind of energetically show up in that space, because often we have energetic connection to past lives that are connected to what we came to do or share or teach in this life. We have past life connections to people that we've written soul contracts with, again, in this life. And so often when people ask, they can ask any different kind of question. Part of the answer is based here in this life, and often part of it is based in other past lives, or sometimes other more galactic time-space continuums, sometimes other planets, places, or dimensions that we've lived in.
That's beautiful. So it's not just connected to the earth and earthly experiences and past lives connected to the earth. So it's a multi-dimensional experience.
Yes, we have galactic records, right? I would venture to say that everyone is a starseed. I have never literally met anyone who just comes to Earth. I mean, we have a huge multiverse out there. Why would you just come here? So we have greater freedom and expansiveness in other planes and dimensions. Honestly, we often come here to Earth because, we love kind of the physicalness, the physicality, and experiences of this dimension. But we've lived in all of these other, the Pleiades, Sirius, Arcturus, maybe Lyra or Andromeda Galaxy, or, all these other planets or places. And so we are very galactic in truth. We are very, very infinite.
So when people come to you for a session, what is usually the most sort of common question that they would come to you with? Is it probably soul purpose, or maybe many?
Yes, of course, there's kind of the standard question. So we have often people who are feeling kind of stuck or blocked or lost. And so, yes, they may want, how do I get unstuck? I'd like to create something or do something. And sometimes it's a relationship, and sometimes it's a business, or sometimes it's greater health. And so we have that kind of definite energy, which is, how do I get unstuck and move forward and really be the creator that I already am? Though usually we don't know we're creators until I get to share that with them in the records. But so those are kind of common. Will come about, some kind of relationship. Is my soul contract complete? Have I finished this relationship? Is there something else for me to learn or to do or to grow around, right? So very often about our relationships, sometimes our families or childhood trauma, which we can actually do tremendous healing Akashic records around our traumas and our emotional pain. Because again, if you imagine that everything is stored in this quantum field. There is no time and space. So if you had a painful trauma from your childhood, or a lot of them, right? Often we're born into families that are abusive in some way, or there's some, physical challenge or financial challenge in the family, right? And so we've grown up with this ongoing sort of pain or fear or lack or trauma. And because there is no time space, we can go back. I can do this for my clients, go back and clear and release and untangle a lot of that energy that keeps people locked down. So often it is stuck emotions that keep us blocked from creating an abundant, loving, fun-filled life. So we can do that because the Akashic Record is part of source energy. It is part of the quantum field. There is no time and space there. So it's a very, very powerful tool. And one of the things that I think is really important for people to realize is that it's not just a kind of one-shot deal. Over the last few weeks, I've had a couple people say to me, I always thought you could get like one reading and then you know everything. Like, not so much, right? You're ancient, infinite souls. I can do one reading and do tremendous amounts of healing and giving you information. And often people are great in what they wanted to work on. They're ready to go and off they go. And then, sometimes 6 months later, they'll show back up again. What about this next thing? What about this next layer? What about building my business? What about I'm looking for a relationship? Do I have a soul contract? So then we start to realize there's so much information for you in your record that is written about your soul's plan. So it's not just about past lives, like who were you? Were you somebody famous, or were you a king or a queen? No, it's really you came to create in this lifetime, and how you can align to that energy, how you can really start to download some of that information for yourself through the Akashic Records. And so that you can make your life actually a lot easier when you get into that alignment.
And I love this about your work, because it's about empowering others to have their own connection and their own communication with their soul. So speak a little bit more about that, and maybe experiences that you've had in seeing others come into that connection, and how they're now stepping more into being creator beings.
Absolutely. So I have to say, I have been so blessed to teach, thousands and thousands of people now around the world. In the olden days, I age myself, I used to teach locally here. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it was very fun for many, many years. I had a sweet little healing center, and I would, teach in different places around the Bay Area, because, it's a pretty big, there's a lot of people in the Bay Area. And so I really got to know my students very well. And many of them, I teach Akashic self-mastery, which teaches you to open and start to read the Akashic Records. And then we go really deep into all these different areas of the Akash that is helpful for us to understand about. So we go and start to understand soul contracts we've written, the layers of kind of ancestral lineage, genetic lineage, soul lineage, which I consider kind of a stringing together of all the lifetimes in which we were particularly proficient at one sort of task or job or, purpose. And so if you imagine that many lifetimes you came in and were a healer, and every one of the lifetimes in which you were able to step into your healing gifts and abilities and be of service to humanity and really do the work you came to do. If you imagine all of those lifetimes string together, almost like a beautiful pearl necklace or like some kind of beaded necklace, right? And that is a soul lineage, almost necklace or wisdom. And most of us bring 2 or 3 or 4 of those kind of soul lineage necklaces, for lack of a better word for it, to life with us. And so when we can start to know that we really have been tremendously proficient in so many different sorts of things, that we have honed these gifts and these talents over many, many, many lifetimes, and that you may be wanting to share that again with humanity. So I'll often have clients or students who really want to start, say, a spiritual business. Maybe they want to be a healer. Maybe they want to teach some sort of spiritual wisdom. And so, but they don't trust that they can do that. They think, again, kind of like I did, like, who am I? I'm a mom in the suburbs. You've got the wrong woman here, But when we can go into our own records and see those 5 or 10 lifetimes where we did that, where we were beautiful teachers in the ancient mystery schools, where we were wise women in the ancient goddess temples, where we were, healers, or part of the mystery schools of ancient Egypt. I mean, all of these different lifetimes. Persia held so many of these kind of mystery schools and healing temples, and, all around the world. Certainly, we've been and done those things. And when we can see it, one, that's so powerful, because we're like, that's me, right? In that temple or in that world. And then we can actually start to reclaim the energy, right? The vibration, the codes of that life, of those gifts, and bring them present into your body. And I teach my students how to do that for themselves. And many of my students go on and become certified Akashic consultants and healers with my Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom. And so if they were looking to start a spiritual business, sometimes it's this business of being an Akashic reader. And I've trained dozens and dozens of them, probably almost 50 or so Akashic consultants, and I've got over a dozen teachers who teach my work also. And so again, I just feel blessed to be able to share the wisdom and help people to be on their path and to have a spiritual business.
Oh, that's wonderful. How has the Akashic field, or the light of this vibration that you carry and you hold, emanated in maybe in your life, in your family life, or have you seen it assist your immediate circle in various ways?
Well, absolutely, because to me, the greatest blessing is that I have divine guidance every day, pretty much all day. So I rarely mess things up, although, every once in a while, the personality, the ego, the body, whatever gets involved. And I override the record keepers. I'm like, what are you, crazy? I'm busy. I'm tired. I don't really want to do that. And then occasionally an opportunity may go past and I'll be like, oh, I know better. I say yes 99% of the time. But in that way, I've lived a very blessed life. I have a lovely husband of 32 years. I have my children who are just all, it's like when we create this life, when we come in with this energy, we really have soul contracts with people to support us. And so my children are loving and kind and supportive, as is my husband. And weirdly, I'm going to say weirdly, because my 94-year-old father and his partner and my Jewish cousins and aunts and uncles are all fascinated and love the work and ask for healings. And so I was blessed to be able to create a very loving, supportive family, extended family. And so I see that as kind of an out picturing of holding a vibration of pure love, right? The higher the vibration you hold, we are magnets, right? We magnetize more and more and more of that to us. And so when you are love and the vibration of 500 and above, then you are able to really magnetize love. And that's support and kindness and lovely things. The first book I wrote, the record keeper said to me, "It's time to write a book." And I said, I can't even spell. I mean, again, a bunch of small children. I went to art school. I'm like, "You're crazy. This is silly." And I said, okay, because I tend to say yes. I feel very, very blessed to have this connection. So I bite my tongue and I say, "Sure. Okay, tell me how." And that's a wonderful question you can ask in your own Akashic Records. I teach my students, I'm always like, say, give me baby steps, right? What's the first step to create that business or write that book? Help me. So I said that to the record keepers, and they gave me 2 steps. And step 1 was actually describe my recording of my workshop. I said, okay, I can do that. That's not too hard. And step 2 was to contact one of my past students and ask her to edit and help me with the book. And I thought, well, she'll never do that. I'm off the hook. So, I'm human. Come on. So that was seriously, I'm like busy with the kids and driving everybody everywhere and cooking and shopping and all the above. I had my little healing center, trying to squeeze that in with some clients, a class every month or 2. Anyway, so I called up this lovely woman named Meg, who I had met. She came and took my class in Sedona, Arizona once when I was teaching there, and called her up. And I mean, I didn't even know this woman very well. I think I emailed back and forth with her. We really liked each other, but she lived somewhere else. And so I call her up and she says, "What's so funny? I was just thinking I haven't worked on a book project in so long. I would love to." Yes. Right. So she had been a very early hybrid publisher. So she had a little publishing company, which she had let go of. And she was like, "I haven't done any book work in a long time. I'd love to edit your manuscript." And so that was beautiful. And then I put that book, that manuscript, into a contest that the woman, I was doing a Get Your Book Done program. And she had a wonderful contest. And so me and 300 other people put their books in to the contest. And the only reason I wanted to do it was just to make myself write the book proposal. I just wanted the deadline to get the book proposal done. So I did it. And then I submitted it because it was done. And I actually won first prize, which was out of 350 people, which was an agent who got me a contract. So this was how the Akashic Record Keepers were helping me along. They are right there with you, helping and supporting you. As long as you're working on your path, you're working on your soul's plan.
Oh, that's magnificent. And let's speak a little bit about your experiences now or how the Akash are relaying information for you or visions for you to see the stage and state that we are in now as a consciousness and where we are moving to as well as a collective consciousness, and this feeling of this new earth frequency and these sort of heart-based frequencies and our pathway into this light and this direction. How do you see that?
Well, honestly, I am very, very excited because literally I've been waiting for over 60 years to get here. And so I am very thrilled, very excited. I really, we are raising vibration of the planet. The earth herself, right? Gaia is a sentient being and she is awakening. And there is no way that we cannot awaken while we're riding on this awakening earth, right? As it just has to happen. So yes. You can't be on something that's awake and stay asleep. And so I think one of the bigger challenges is what we're seeing is a lot of the old conflicts, a lot of the really extreme imbalance that we have in this world, so extreme that it's all coming up to be seen, to be released, which is always the way we go about it, right? We need to be able to see it and let it go before we can recreate and make something new. So right now, I'm seeing a lot of that in the world. And, but I know, according to the record keepers, and I completely know, feel, believe that we've changed timelines, that our timeline trajectory is seriously about creating the new earth. It is no longer the old energies or the old paradigms about blowing ourselves up and such. So that's exciting.
That's right. Yes, it is very exciting.
Especially those of us who have children. We're very happy about that because as of, 2012, it was a little touch and go back then. So,
is that reflected in the readings that you have with individuals too? Is there quite a clear change maybe, or beings that are ready for coming into their own connection? Is there a difference, or even more people coming?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So, when I started doing this, 20 plus years ago, no one had any idea what the Akashic Records were to start with. And that was part of the request of the record keepers, was to, help anchor this energy back to the planet, because as they had said, they pulled the vibration away from Earth during the dark ages because we misused it. So they said, please help us anchor it back on Earth. And so, over the last 20, 25, 30 years of kind of anchoring vibe, accessing the records, it's gone so much, now the Akashic Records is one of the kind of hot topics out there in the spiritual world. And so many people are interested in taking classes, having readings. They really are ready to raise their vibration, to let go of old karmic patterns, which, the interesting thing with karma is that the karma is cleared in the quantum field. It's just us who needs to kind of own that, know that, understand the lessons that we came to learn and embody that energy of love and compassion and forgiveness and, really understanding. So more people are able to step more fully into that aspect, as well as so many people just waking up kind of like, I just woke up 6 months ago, and it's so sweet to see people who, often a client will come to me and they'll say, I just had this kind of regular life. Then I just woke up and I realized there was more. And I started to listen to, spiritual radio shows, podcasts, everything, and often they've said, and I've seen you a bunch of times. And, so they'll come to me for an Akashic record reading. And that's the perfect place for people to start, especially if you're just waking up, because there's a lot of information about your soul plan. And I think was kind of grabbing the new book. So this is my newest book, Your Soul Has a Plan. And, it's available, of course, on Amazon, and it really is perfect. Well, I just actually did book club group last night, and someone said, I've been a healer for 20 years and I love this book. So I was thinking it was more basic for people who are newer, but it's really explains very clearly what a soul plan is. Because before we embody each and every lifetime, and many of us have lived 500, 600, 800 lifetimes, each time we say, this is why I'm going back. This is what I want to do. I want to share. I want to bring these tools. I want to support these people. I want to learn this, lesson, which kind of karmic energy, which we just say, we come to learn and grow. And so the way we do that very often as humans is through some sort of challenge or other. And then we can overcome it, learn that lesson, teach it to other people. So that's kind of the pattern that we take on very often around, what I just call as karmic patterns, but the learning and growth process. With great wisdom, with lots of love, and we really want to share that. There's lots of souls that we write soul contracts with. Many of us write 40, 50 soul contracts to support other people, to sometimes it's about teaching them, or again, having those a little more challenging relationships sometimes. But again, it's about the growth. And so we come to hang out with other souls, to love them up, to help everybody awaken, and to help ourselves, of course, awaken. And so that is really, really well explained. And I can kind of say that because I just channel it. It's not like I really make it up or write it. So the record keepers did a good job of explaining it in Your Soul Has a Plan.
That's so lovely. Thank you. So I can't wait to get hold of the book. I just wanted to ask you too about the light. You've already mentioned some feelings and frequencies around the Akashic field. And you spoke about this feeling of this deep love, this deep compassion. And that's one of the huge things for me when that this light, especially the lights that you hold, in the way that you're able to guide others in such a loving way, this wisdom is bringing through a next level of compassion, if that makes sense. Because as humans, when we were asleep, we could be nice sometimes, but not so nice at other times. And then there's these layers, but this compassion is very much needed and is something that we are able to come to, but definitely connected with the light of the Akash, especially in the being able to share visuals with others and speak about their soul's plan from a place of such compassion.
Mm. What the record keepers always say is that the Akashic record is part of divine source energy, right? It's just part of source. It's pure unconditional love. And so when we get to spend time, and again, this is why I find it so powerful and empowering to learn to access your own Akashic records, because you get to hang out in the energy of pure love. The record keepers have no judgment because they've never been human. And so being able to really spend most of my life in that energy allows me to get rid of most of my judgment. Not that I don't have any because I'm human, but all in all, it's almost like you live in this expansive energy and you see it all. And I know we're every bit as dark as we are light, right? We have been everything. And so there is no judgment around any of it. It's the game we're playing when we come and embody here on earth. So we come for the game. We come to play the roles. We come to do it all. No judgment. They have none, right? And so in that way, it's very helpful to kind of get over ourselves and our attitudes and our judgments, and to be able to live in the energy of just pure unconditional love. And I believe that just being in that vibration transforms us without even doing much else. And I'll often tell my students, sometimes they'll say, I love the energy. I'm not getting a lot of messages yet. Some of the newbie students in the first workshop. And the record keepers always say, just open the records and invite us to come in and help heal you. And so everyone has your own Akashic record, right? You have your own library and you have your own librarians. And those pure beings of light, they've never been human. They're not angels. They're not ascended masters. They're nothing else but pure light, pure love. And they will come in. They are purely in service to you. And so you can open your records and say, please help to clear this pain, help to clear whatever fear you're feeling, or help me to just let go of some of the stress and the contraction that we sometimes get just by being in this human world. And so it's a beautiful process to even learn to access your records and sit in the vibration of love and light. And it's very healing for us. And of course, in my workshops, I teach people healing prayers as well as quite a few different, just easy tools to get everyone out of your space so that you really can be the sovereign of your physical body and energy field and auric field. To when we can be the sovereign of this vehicle, of this energy field, then we can much more easily align to our soul purpose and our soul's path. Otherwise, we're often getting yanked around by everybody, in the world. I mean, I've done a reading. I remember one doctor who came to me and said, I'm a doctor because my mother wanted me to be a doctor, but I never wanted to be a doctor. What else is my purpose? And I thought, wow, it's so true how we are often really pulled around by our lovely families, and their purpose is, for our highest good, but that might not have been his purpose. And so it was interesting in his records, it really came through that he came more to be an inventor. And so I believe he did, it served him, the whole medical process, because it was about inventing some new kind of scientific, healthful, some kind of healing like formula. And so, the medicine turned out to be a great background, but he didn't have to spend 30 years being a doctor, right? But when we start to get those other people out of our space, that we get to be the sovereign of our field, our body, it allows us to align to our path and our purpose and our soul's plan, and with greater ease and grace. And so it's very, very beneficial. And you get to hang out in pure unconditional love and feel that, right? When we realize that our record keepers have no judgment about us, it starts to make it so much easier for us to forgive ourselves, right? And to forgive others around us. And the record keepers often say that forgiveness is really the beginning of awakening. So when we can really be the compassion, we can say, I know my parents were alcoholics and left me on my own, and I'm compassionate for them and their lives and their challenges, and I forgive them, and I can move on. And so then it allows us to step out of our pain and our trauma and to heal some of that with greater ease and grace. And of course, with the help and the support of being in the quantum field and being able to go back and clear, release, and delete some of that pain that can be really stuck in our bodies, releasing old contracts or vows that may have kept some of that pain stuck in place, right? Because we can work in this field of no time space continuum. So, we can go back to that poor 5-year-old baby who was left on their own crying all night long with, absent parents. work on healing some of the abandonment that so many of us have. And so there is deep, deep, deep healing available for you in your Akashic records, whether you learn to do it for yourself, or of course, many of my clients come to me because it's easier for me to do it for them, especially in the beginning, if they have a lot of emotional pain and trauma in their field.
I'm sure each connection that you've had has brought an aha moment for you, or it's been an expansion in some way. Have there been experiences, or maybe in your own visions and communication with your Akash experiences, that have just blown your mind wide open even more?
Absolutely, absolutely. Sometimes they're funny when I think about them or I talk about them. So one of the kind of really wild experiences I had kind of way early on, I was teaching a beginning class, and again, it was live. I had this little local healing center, and so I had this oracle deck, and when you first learn to open your records, and then we just want to practice with kind of simple questions, right? And so I was letting everyone, pull a card from the oracle deck, and I pulled a card. So while they were working, I was going to do some work in my own Akashic records, and the exercise was to ask their Akashic records, right? We've opened our records. We ask our record keepers, can you tell me the story behind this card? Now, these cards were very unusual, very beautiful, but very kind of different design. That wasn't a classic oracle deck or angel deck or anything like that. So give me the story behind this card for me. How do I relate to this? Why did I pick this? What's my story here? And so I sat down and I looked at my card, and it was frozen tundra, right? So it was like this frozen land with kind of ice waves and kind of ocean it was like around a big bay of kind of frozen water. And I thought, wow, okay. So in this life, I don't like the cold. And I often say, why have I been here so many times? Because the record keepers say, I've been to Earth at least 1,000 times. And I'm like, that's above and beyond the call of duty. Are we kidding here? So here I have this card, and I say, so record keepers, tell me this story. And they said, this is the story of your first life. You were a whale, and you came from Sirius A, where the whales and dolphins came from. And you would come because you loved this beautiful earth with these deep oceans. And you would come and you loved it so that you made a vow, you made a contract with Gaia herself. You said, I will always, always protect and support you. And they said, and that's why you keep coming back. So I was like, okay. It was, yeah. See, even still just saying that, I get a little choked up, because so many of us have these kinds of profound stories. We've had these lives that we can never imagine. I mean, me as a whale seems a little weird to me. But I feel the truth in it, obviously, or it wouldn't make me tear up. And so we find, I've had many of those kinds of realizations, from everything from being part of these amazing, goddess temples in ancient Persia, to being, part of the holy families in ancient Egypt, to living on many water worlds. You can kind of see from my background, I have a big water thing. I prefer it warm in this life, but let me tell you what. But, to be able to kind of see, feel, and embody some of those lifetimes. I think one of the other ones to me that was so profound, and this only happened a few years ago. So after all these years, things open and kind of in layers. It's just like reading a book. You turn page after page after page, and there's thousands of pages or thousands of books. So I don't actually remember the question, but sometimes I try and kind of figure things here. Why do I have this gift? Why would you ask me to bring the Akashic Records back to humanity? Again, I have a little bit of that shyness and that feeling of, I'm just a mom in the suburbs. I still live in the same house in the suburbs where my children were born. They went to the same high school I went to. And though I'm a world traveler and have been all over and love to visit sacred sites, I'm also kind of this little small town woman. So I sometimes am kind of like, the why. Tell me, I have this big kind of expansive memory. I almost remember kind of, I don't know why the words come up, kind of rolling around the heavens. I think there's some words from a song that say something about rolling around the heavens all day. It might have been a Willie Nelson song. Anyway, so
yes, so beautiful. And also that everything came in its perfect time for you, because if you would have seen everything, if you would have seen the school and the books and the work it might have been overwhelming. It's lovely that it came in stages, in increments, so that you could complete those and accomplish that and then move forward. And you were leading us beautifully too, because you were speaking about books and these pages, and it tickled me because I heard you speak in another interview where you were speaking about, and I've got lots of other books within me too. So can you see these books and do you know what they're going to be about? Although we're still excited about this new book that you've just published too. Not to take away from that.
I do, in a way. So I'm actually working on the next book is called Akasha, and it will be out in August of 2023. And it's part of a series called Common Sentience. So my publisher, who is Sacred Stories, who published Your Soul Has a Plan, has a series now. By the end, when my book is out, and then there's one more, there will be 13 books in this Common Sentience series. And so it's all about, about mine's Akasha, but about, so many different things about nature, right? It's about all these aspects. Neil Donald Walsh is doing God talk, right? So he channels the divine, right? And so there's 13 books. So I know I'm working on finishing Akasha right now. And I know I will do a book called, well, I don't know what it's called, but something about quantum healing through the Akashic Records. And so that will probably be next year, or who knows, the year after. We'll see how quickly they come through. But I have those so far lined up. And then they don't like to overwhelm us. And so it's true. It is important page by page, because, if you actually remembered who you are as this ancient wise soul who's had, 800 lifetimes, you might go running the other way. Right? You may say, no, thank you, right? And shut down. So they're very good at trying, and they always say, we meet you where you are. And to me, what that means is that we ask questions. The way they've asked me to teach this is we get to ask questions, right? So when you're ready for that question, then you get to ask it. You're not just wandering in this humongous field of energy of infinite lifetimes and, just wandering randomly around. So it's very much related to to what we're doing and why we're here in this life. And for many of us, it's useful to know that, yes, we did come to write a book or books and to be a communicator, to help humanity awaken. But we also have free will, and they want us to use that and to do what brings us in this lifetime, in this body, in this, in this family or the situation, what brings us joy. So it's important that we do it in our own way so that we can, create and manifest as a creator being in a human body. And so we get to do that the way we want to do that now.
Oh, Lisa, that feels beautiful and like a natural place to come to a close for today, but we might come together again in the near future, hopefully, because you are such a vast library and there's so many areas of knowledge and wisdom to share too. It's just beautiful. Thank you so much for your generosity of heart. It's so appreciated. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lois. It has been a joy to be with you and share with everyone. And I would love to be back in that perfect divine timing.